Okay, so why did I apply in R2? So I applied for ISB in the year 2019. I was originally supposed to give my GMAT exam in June, July 2019. However, at that time when I was giving some practice tests, I was not really getting the intended score, my target score. So which is why I decided to take a couple of months off, prepare, and then give GMAT again. So by the time my GMAT was done and I got the scores and whatnot, it was almost October. So it made sense for me to apply in the next round, which is the R2 round. So that is why I decided to apply then. Personally, I don't think there's much difference in which round you want to apply in. There are pros and cons to each of them. But I think the core point is you need to apply when you feel very confident about your application as well as you are happy with your GMAT or GRE scores. So that is what I would say. So I decided to apply to R2 around 5 to 6 weeks before the application deadline. So these 5 to 6 weeks were crucial for me in putting together an essay, an application, as well as getting a letter of recommendation done. In retrospect, probably I should have taken a couple of weeks more time to put together my application so that it wouldn't have been as hectic as it was. So my application deadline was around December 3rd and 4th. So that is when I submitted my application a couple of days before. And then I got my interview invite around December 16th. And my interview happened on December 28th, 2019. And then I got my final admit news on Jan 8th, 2020. So that was the timeline like. So I don't think there's much difference between applying in R1 versus R2 versus R3 because ultimately what matters is how confident you are with your application as well as your scores and essays and everything. But I get why this question is being asked is because there are a lot of perceptions around, oh, if I apply in R1, I get a higher chance of getting in or R2 or R3, etc., etc. I'll give you an example. For example, when I was applying, I was told that R2 the competition is higher because the number of applications that ISB gets in R2 is quite higher, which means that you are competing against more people. And then there are perceptions around R1 and R3 as well. But I don't think these are entirely factual, irrespective of how perceived their chances of admit is going to be based on which round they are applying in. I think the core criteria based on which your application is going to get shortlisted is still the same. So ISB is still going to evaluate you based on your profile. ISB is still going to evaluate you based on how your interview was, or how your work experience is, or how good your stories are, or how good your leadership skills are. So those core criteria will not really change irrespective of when you apply. So I would say just apply when you feel the most confident. So the advice that I would love to give the R2 applicants is basically, firstly, I would say download the application form and prepare a checklist of all the things that you need to do, which is writing essays, filling out form fields, getting a letter of recommendation. This checklist actually helped me quite a bit in order to stay organized and plan ahead. And as a result, again, like the quality of output, which is your application, is going to be better. So that is my first advice. The second advice would be to not ignore those extracurriculars, hobbies, and awards and achievement section. Having interacted with many applicants as well as having interviewed, basically mock interviews of many applicants, what I realize is it's not that people don't have good hobbies or extracurricular activities. It's just that they feel underconfident. They think, oh, maybe this is not very important or this is not going to give me an edge. That is not true. In my personal opinion, I think when ISB is evaluating your application, they are looking for how versatile and how diverse your profile is and how versatile and diverse your experiences are, so that you can contribute to the class as well during your stay at ISB. And secondly, it also gives you more talking points during the interview, and basically you will come across as versatile and interesting. So I think that is what is more important. So I would say don't miss on filling out those fields.